Good morning. Yeah, it's so good to see so many of you. First of all, I need a little bit of help. I got to thinking, how many other communities do this? Not just do town halls or do chats, but put them out on YouTube and broadcast them for the rest of the world to see. I got to think, we're not unique. Unique in the sense is we're probably in a minority. So I started looking, and I didn't have enough time to do a search. But if you have time to help me with that search, I'd appreciate it. Because there have been a number of you that have come up to me, new residents, and said, hey, I got to watch you on YouTube, and I know all about what's going on. I know all about what's going on in your community. And that's nice to know. It's nice that you do that. Well, it is. In the forum of being transparent and sharing information, we take that important. Second part, this is long. I am going to go through some things very, very quickly. If I get done in an hour, it will be a miracle. Okay? But there's a lot of very good information here, and we want to make sure that you know it. Questions? I didn't see any and can't ask Shannon because she's not in the room, but emails if you have questions about the things that you want to see in a chat or you want to see in a presentation. jkvlive@johnknox.com, calls 386-456-1558, and text messages at 386-507-4236. You all have that memorized, right? So I can just stop with this slide, right? No? Come on. No fun. All right, Val, Village Alert Line. For people that are new, we want to make sure that you understand what is Val. We just anteed up for another year to be able to do this. The company is OnSolve. What they do is they allow us to broadcast, whether it's a text message to you, whether it's an email or it's a live call, and you'll hear Shannon's voice, because we like Shannon's voice a lot better than we like the voice on here. So that's why we have Shannon do it. So we broadcast anytime there's a change, and sometimes we do a pretty good job. Sometimes, one of the things that came up is you should have done a Val a couple of days before you did ad valorem. All right, we'll add it to the suggestion box, and we'll add it to our to-do list. We know that there's a lot of stuff going on, and sometimes to get that information, you have to seek it. Village Weekly normally has a lot of information. The resident portal has a lot of information. So we push out a lot of information to you to make sure that you're informed. I'm going to start here. Resident Council. What we did is I had a chat with Resident Council and asked them if they wanted to add into the chat. And they said, yeah, sure, Joe, we want to add something. This was the first thing that they came up with. Rudeness is a weak man's imitation of strength. Do I need to go on? But I will. If I ever have a staff member, any staff member, at any time that's rude to one of you, I want you to report them to me. Don't say, well, they were rude. Don't tell me they or we or those. Don't tell me that. Give me specifically their name. If they don't have their name badge up here, look down, because it's probably on their waist. If we have staff members that are rude, we want to know. But in return, we expect the same courtesy. We expect the same courtesy. We're all part of the John Knox Village family. We're not strangers. We're not haphazardly, you went through the McDonald's and they gave you cold coffee and you'll never go to that McDonald's again. You selected us as a place to live. And doing that and being that, we expect from you the same thing you expect from us. If any one of my staff members is rude to you, feel free to come directly to me. Don't pass go, don't collect $200, come directly to me. But in return, I'm going to ask you to be a little bit more polite to staff. For people that are servers, this is their first job. They are no match for your wit or your wisdom when you're angry. They are no match, nor do I want them to be. So please be considerate, and we will continue to be as considerate as we possibly be. Can we come to an accord on that? So you know I didn't randomly pick that. I quoted my source. All right. The other item that resident council brought up is we've had people that like to walk later in the evening, after it's dark, or early in the morning, walking your dogs in either which case. And I have had more than one, in fact, I think I've probably had about 7 or 8 people complain that, Joe, you got to do something. They're walking in the middle of the street and it's dark. The car comes around the corner and we don't want to get anybody hit. First of all, as we've worked with resident council on many things, one of the things we worked with resident council is putting walkways at the intersection so you can walk safely through there. If you walk in the middle of the street and it's dark without reflective clothing, I mean, it kind of adds up to be a bad situation. That's kind of not doubling down, that's tripling down on a bad decision. So please, we ask, if you're walking at night, just to make sure that you're safe, wear reflective clothing. If you would like, we will buy reflective vests and you can go to the Scoop and you can purchase them there. But I want to see heads go like this before I make that investment, because what will happen is I'll buy a bunch of reflective vests and nobody will buy them. And then I'll have to give them to the gift shop that will sell them and they'll make money doing it. I'm kidding. I'm teasing. But please, wear something reflective. And we're asking something more reflective as opposed to just something, a light, because sometimes if you have the light on the front of you, they don't see the back of you. But please, wear a reflective vest. You can get them off of Amazon as cheap as $6.99, shipping next day or the same day. Please, just take that step to keep yourself safe. And then volunteer hours. Volunteer hours, we do a lot of tracking. We like to track volunteer hours. One, we put it on our 990. We don't put the number of hours, but we put the number of volunteers. And those are always good numbers. But which number is actually the most accurate number? What we're actually getting from you or what we get from a survey? Now, I can extrapolate that information just as well as you can. You know, you can say on campus 59% of 379 surveys, it's 223.61. We'll run it to 224. 224 people volunteered. That's a lot of people volunteering, right? That's just on campus. And then when you multiply the hours, what is that, about 3,361 hours or so, give or take an hour? That's a lot of hours. That's a lot of volunteers. That's a lot of hours. So we ask if you volunteer on any of the committees, please just jot it down. Now, I know the counter argument to that because this is the one you've always given to me. Oh, I don't want recognition. Why? Because I want to give you recognition? If I stop giving you recognition, will you do it? I just thought I'd do a counter argument, but please, think about that. We like to know that. Why? Also, it gives me bragging rights. I like to compare myself to other communities like in kind. I think you are the most generous, gracious people I have ever met in my life, bar none. And I brag about you. I go to national conventions, and I brag about you. Of course, no debt is number one. My residents are number two. And a lot of times I'll interchange number one with that because I think you're all fantastic. What you do for our employees is incredible. What you do on a daily basis for each other is incredible, and I like to share that. So when I go to a national convention, last year it was in Nashville. This next year it's Boston. Yeah, I love Boston. So I go and I brag about you. These are some of the things I like to share. I have 59% of my residents that volunteer. Those are some pretty cool numbers. I just want you to know that. Now, we're 10 minutes in, and I'm only 3 slides in. I'll go quicker. All right, occupancy, independent living. This is as of February 1st, 476 out of 525. That's 90.7 with 13 additional deposits. I told you I was going to get away from some of the other stuff. I was going to kind of clean it up. Cottages, 279 out of 290 for 96.2. Apartments, 61 out of 93 with 5 additional deposits. And villas, 136 out of 142 for 95.8 with 5 additional deposits. So we're doing pretty well. Oakview Suites, 48 out of 49. Majestic Oaks, 124 out of 135. Please watch that number very close on Majestic Oaks, 124 out of 135. So it's 91.3, because I have a nice little surprise for you. When you're all done, are we doing well? Yeah. Do we want to do a little bit better? Yes. As we promised and we committed, and I talked about it all last year, some of the things that we're doing in apartments, we're making apartments bigger. Where we know the sweet spot is 2 bedrooms, 2 baths. And so in many cases, that's what we've done, and we've been able to sell those apartments. And in fact, what they've been able to do is they have sold 8 apartments since we've done that. 8 apartments since we've done that. Now, will it decrease the number of apartments that we have? Absolutely. But it gives us also an opportunity that we're still, even apartments can be in demand if they're designed correctly. That was our entire thrust from last year, and as we continue to move forward, we'll continue to do that. Now, please understand, I can't just snap my fingers like that and everything gets full. There are other people in some apartments that we would need to combine. I just can't, nor will I, kick them out. So you'll see that number now start creeping much, much slower, because what we did is we picked up, I like to refer to as low-hanging fruit. A lot of the obvious ones, the ones that were easy to do. All right, administration, outside vendors. This one is just, if you have an outside vendor coming in, please notify us, notify the gatehouse. Otherwise, we'll stop them at the gate. I know some of them, you have somebody who comes, washes your car, waxes your car. You have other people coming in to do a variety of things. See, we like to think that we can do almost anything and everything. We'd like to think that. We know that there are other vendors that you like to have that come from the outside. Just call the gatehouse and let them know they're coming in. That's another one of the security measures that we're putting into effect. Fire doors in the apartments. I know that people live in the apartments, or if you happen to be in the Commons building or the apartment buildings at the time and the fire alarm goes off, all of a sudden all the doors close. And it ticks you off like nobody's business, doesn't it? When those doors close, don't go through them. Don't go through them. You don't know if or where there's a fire. Neither do we. Until we go and we check the panel and find out where that fire exactly is. We ask you to be patient. Now, if we go ahead and we make an announcement or we start pushing out information that we need for you to exit the apartment, evacuate the apartment, what we really want you to do is we need you to get to the stairwells and get out of the building. But we will announce that to you. So if you're in there, we will announce that. Fair enough? Now, we're going to have more information. We're also going to practice some fire alarms. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge to apartment residents. We're going to practice those. What keeps you safe in independent living? Your ability to evacuate in case of an emergency. If you are unable to evacuate your living unit in an emergency, the question is, should you be in independent living? Good question, right? Because you can't rely on your neighbor. What if your neighbor happens to be on vacation and that's the neighbor you rely on and there's an emergency? So, does that mean Joe just said we're kicking everybody who can't take care of themselves out of the apartments? No, that's not what Joe said. That's not what he said. Is we're going to help you work through this. We shouldn't just put in a mandate and then all of a sudden go forward. No, we'll transition through this like we should do on most things. But please, when those fire doors are closed, There's a reason they're heavy to push open, because they shouldn't be pushed open. That is a compartment in case of a fire. If there's a fire there, that'll provide a nice little barrier for you to leave the building. We will send people in through those fire doors to get people out if we need to. But do not open the fire doors, okay? Documents, this is just a reminder. Review your wills, trust, powers of attorney, and advance directives to ensure all details are current. And red cap. Everybody knows what a red cap is, right? Yeah, very good. If you change anything, you don't know what a red cap? No. Well, red cap. It's red because the red is an acronym for Resident Emergency Document. That's why it's red. Resident Emergency Document, and it's a clear tube with red cap on the end. You put your emergency documents in there to enclose them, stick them in your refrigerator, stick them on your counter, stick them in a cabinet. We ask your refrigerator because if emergency workers come in, EMTs come in, we've instructed them to reach into your refrigerator and grab that red tube. Grab the tube, it's got red ends on it, because that has all your emergency documents should you need to go to the hospital. If you don't have that, you need to go see Tina today. Not tomorrow, today. And you'll understand why I said today and not tomorrow in a few minutes. But that's what RED stands for, Resident Emergency Documents. It's got red caps on each end. It's clear tube. You roll your papers up. You put them in there. Should an EMT come in, it's got all the necessary paperwork that the hospital would need if you have to be taken there. Good? All right. As a result of our bus accident, we really want to make sure that every single resident has been, and if it haven't been, you start wearing a seatbelt. And we don't care if it's the bus, we don't care if it's the van, I don't care if you're in a second seat. I had a long chat with the board of directors in regards to this. They wanted to go ahead and make it a mandate. Make it a mandate that if you decide you don't, that we kick you off the bus. I said, me? Bragging about you guys again. I said, my residents aren't like that. No. They're reasonable. If we ask them, they'll do it. Let's take the reasonable approach. We're going to ask you, please wear your seatbelt. Fair enough? And you're going to see the bus driver go through the bus, going to offer assistance for people that need their seatbelt. If you don't want to wear your seatbelt, there's Lyft, Uber, taxi cabs, and other transportation you are able to use and probably not wear your seatbelt. But you not wearing your seatbelt puts you at risk and it puts us at risk. More importantly, it puts future residents at risk also. So, I said I didn't need to mandate it. I just needed to be reasonable and ask. So that's what we're doing. Please wear your seatbelt. Ad valorem, right now, 17 people haven't completed their affidavits. Why am I rubbing my hands together? Because that's $1,000 per. If you don't know what ad valorem is, you need to see Vicki today, not tomorrow, today. We also know, she also shared with me before I came here today, she knows that there are some people that are not able to get out, and she does have authorization to go see those people over the next few days to get their signature on the document. But if you're sitting there or you're sitting at home watching this and you don't know what I'm talking about, extension 1021, call it now. And renovation of administration will begin very, very soon. Why? This week we're moving to Oak Park. Administration moves to Oak Park tomorrow. We want to make sure that we have adequate time to get all of administration. That is going to be converted to the clinic. Why? Because to make it easier for residents, to make it more centralized for residents, we'll also be removing outpatient rehab. the pharmacy will stay right where it's at. Why? Because we have just as many employees using the pharmacy as we do residents. And we want to make sure, sometimes it's employees using as residents are. And sometimes employee family members go ahead and go to get their medication, and they go to the pharmacy and they use the drive-through. That means we would have to bring them into the community. Not a really good situation. The board was very understanding about that, and they agreed to leave the pharmacy where it is. So the way it stands right now, pharmacy will stay where they're at. Where outpatient rehab is, marketing will go. Upstairs, in the community room that has like almost never been used, accounting and HR will go there. And then where the clinic is, Martha and Celia, administration will go there. So there is a lot of renovation, a lot of work that needs to be done. Now, before you beat me with a stick, this was all run through resident council. We had a special resident ad hoc committee that agreed to move this. And before you bring out the bat and say, well, what about Tina? We love Tina just as much as you do. All right. We're going to be moving Tina to where Jackie Martinez is in assisted living. It's right across from the grill. So when you go to the grill, instead of turning left into the grill, if you turn right, you'll see Tina's bright, shining face just staring right back at you with her phone in her hand. All right? So you can get all your information. This presentation, by the way, is sent out to all of leadership. It's also sent out to Tina and Vicki, so they have the same presentation so they can go through it so they know what's going on. We know Tina's important, gives out great information and helps as much as you can. Here were your other options. That I put a couple of little iPads and you would FaceTime her as she is down at Oak Park. Did you like that? Would you like that one? No. I didn't think so either. So we really did the best that we could. We tried to keep her as close to where she is at. And if there's an opportunity to do something that we can get her, here's the thing, is we can't just take over an area and just put her there and have her answer the phone. That leaves her all by herself. And I know you don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. The twins, Tina and Vicki, are having separation anxiety already. And while I say that kind of as a joke and kidding, they are. They are very close, they work very close together, and they are very, very good together. So if we can figure out something else, we certainly will. But please also understand, Tina's job is to take and direct calls. Now, there's not that glass window anymore, and there's no barrier, so I'm going to ask, you respect if she's got a call she needs to answer, if she's on the phone, you step back a little bit and give her a little bit of space. Fair enough? Otherwise, I am forced to take additional action and put a barrier between you and her. I don't want to do that. So police yourselves. Tina's going to help police you because that she is thrilled to be close to you, and she loves the interaction as much as you do. And that's the best we can do, and I think that's pretty darn good with all things being considered, okay? So make sure when you see Tina and Vicki, just pass your love along to them. They're having a tough time. All right. Now we are 25 minutes in, and I'm only about 8 slides in. Okay, this one I want to spend a little time. Office of Insurance Regulation came out and they went ahead and they expanded Chapter 651. The first portion of the bill is 150 pages long. First portion of the bill has to do with the insurance portion of OIR. Pages 47 through 77 have to do specifically with Chapter 651. Why is that important? Because you are what we do for you is part of Chapter 651, Continuing Care Retirement Communities. Now, if you didn't know, and this comes as a surprise, we're an insurance product, right? You all know that, right? You should see all your heads going like this. We guarantee that we're going to take care of you for the rest of your days, regardless of your ability to pay, as long as it's not due to any fault of your own. Meaning, if you have a portfolio and the stock market crashes and takes all your assets, okay, that's not due to any fault of your own. Now, if you decide to turn around and give it all to your kids, you've got a dozen kids and you're going to give it all to your kids, that is your fault. While that's great for your kids, that's kind of strictly against what's in our contract. None of this should be a surprise to any of you, right? All right. Yeah, don't be saying, what? None of this should be any surprise to any one of you. All right. So, FLICRA is supporting the bill. Leading Age and John Knox does not. Why? We weren't consulted, nor was Leading Age Southeast. Leading Age Southeast is a group that we belong to that represents continuing care retirement communities. They were Leading Age Florida. They did such a phenomenal job, they became Leading Southeast and absorbed Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana. So now they're called Florida Southeast. And so they represent more than one state. They weren't consulted, and I'm going to say a lot of you weren't consulted on this. And in fact, I know we have some of you that are FLICRA members, and you may know or not know. I didn't know, nor did Leading Age Southeast, until we were able to get a bill or get the proposal from somebody from FLICRA. And it's just, we look at it, these are general terms. I have more specific talking points. Not going to get into an argument or a debate here. This isn't the venue in which to do it. But I want you to know about this because this is all because of University Village, or Unison was when they finally went out of business. They were called Unison. University Village in Tampa. Everybody familiar with that? If you've been here a couple of years, we have talked about this. They're the ones that took residents' money and didn't put it back into the business. And somebody went and bought them out, got a bond, and a number of residents, I know 59, I think it's slightly more than 59, it might be 77 residents, ended up having to relocate someplace else because they couldn't continue their services. OIR bill is a direct threat to your investment. You invested in us. You're relying that we stay in business and we try to remain as profitable as we possibly can. Why is that important? We're not part of a large group. It's not a situation where we can struggle year after year in hopes that we make it. If we have a bad year, we have to recover, and we have to recover quickly. And we try to limit the bad years we have. You choose a community for a number of reasons, including stability of services and long-term security, which is what you came here. The bill would introduce unnecessary oversight, financial instability, burdensome regulations, and increased fees, reduced services, and guess who pays for that? If you're saying me, you would be right. The other thing is, there are regulations that would also inhibit our ability to grow, not necessarily us personally, but the industry as a whole. Florida is probably, let me put it this way. We have said, I've been in long-term care a very long time. Nursing homes are the second highest regulated industry in the country. Do you know it's first? If you were to say nuclear power plants, you would be right. So to say that there's healthcare regulations abode, absolutely. And then on top of that, we're an insurance product, so we're regulated. Florida has kind of been the poster child for a number of years in regards to CCRC regulations. There's only one state that's more regulated than us, and that's California. But this allows us a great amount of flexibility. Now, I'm not saying perhaps
it's not necessary to have more regulations, but it's also, like we talked about in regards to seatbelts, let's be reasonable. We talked about rudeness, let's be reasonable. Let's get around the table and let's talk about these things and see what the issues really are to see if we can resolve them. So, OIR, the members of Leading Age Southeast were not consulted, nor were probably many of you in regards to the input. The bill does not serve the best interests of the residents. We just discussed that. Our mission is to stop it, because we have talked to OIR on a number. When I say I don't mean me, I mean inclusively the industry. We have talked to OIR and asked for regulations. I'm just going to tell you a couple of facts. OIR just came and did a survey. They're supposed to do a survey to make sure that we're financially feasible, everything is in order, and we're doing the things that we should do. Okay, we just had a survey, covered the last 9 years. So, if they would have done surveys on other communities, and they would have had 3 surveys, would they have perhaps caught this? And I'm not saying it's their fault, because I don't understand the circumstances why the survey didn't happen. But if there are already regulations, let's start with the regulations that are there and see, and let's be reasonable in regards to this. Our thing is, we want to start from ground zero, not try to pick bits and pieces out of it, because it's just not good for the industry, and it's really not good for you. There is a dispute among FLICRA and Leading Age Southeast, which I'm happy to discuss at a different venue, in regards to that, because I know FLICRA's Bennett Napier sent out a memo to FLICRA members. So if you've read that, there's another part of the story that I think it's only fair that all sides know. This is not an issue between me and you. This is not an issue between me and you. I'm still as dedicated as I was before they started to this, as is my staff, to make sure you get taken care of in the best way possible. That includes us remaining debt-free. That means we also want to make sure that we are committed to you in making sure you get the best services possible. And you can't say that we don't work hard. I mean, number 10 to number 7 in the state of Florida is for CCRCs. For 2 years, we had the best nursing home. They jumped to number 5, but that's still the best nursing home in any CCRC in the state. And we moved from 47 to 31st nationally. We're committed to make sure we take care of you. I don't want you to walk away thinking anything different. So this isn't a dispute between me and you, or me and FLICRA, or Leading Southeast. This is just a dispute between what's reasonable and what's not reasonable. So let's get around a table. Let's talk about this. So if somebody wants to chat, I'm going to send some information to Mr. Artigler and Mr. Marks, and I think it is Mr. Prescott is the FLICRA representative, and I will copy him on those things so they can see it from our side. So I'm about transparency. I'll share what I have. And so please, our community wants to remain strong. And I think you've heard it a number of times. What good is our community if our residents outlive it? Okay? All right, now I'm going to go quickly because we have a lot to go. 2024 financial audit is started, 1099 is completed, PBJ, payroll-based journaling, that is where we have to take our staffing that we right out of our payrolls and send it to CMS for the staffing ratio at Majestic Oaks. So it's not a case where we fill in numbers of what our staffing was. It's a download of our payroll. So that's when you see that we have a 5-star, it's legitimately a 5-star. If it's a 4-star, it's legitimately a 4-star. Insurance renewals. Where's the fun? We're going to pay more. Just going to tell you, we're going to pay more. I will tell you this, our mod rating, and I know Mr. Mahar, if he is out there, he is the one who knows that he understands this. Our mod rating for workers' comp went from a 0.80 to a 0.73. The lower is the better. So we continue to do well there. Medicaid recertification for the pharmacy has been completed. Our budgets are downloaded. Medical tax deduction letter, all looking forward to that? You will until I show you the next slide. All right, I'm going to explain this really quick. So what can you deduct? 16.17%. Why? Well, there's a lot of reasons here. All right, Life Care Days. What you see on the right side of your screen is 2023. What you see on your left side of the screen is 2024. So Life Care Days were 15,983. Last year, they were 19,665. So what does that tell you? You guys took me serious and stayed out of Majestic Oaks. You did. However, so the medical expense that's associated with that as a total, Life Care Days in 2024 were, let's call it 37%. Let's just round it pretty easy. In 2023, 49. That's almost a 50-50 split. Community days were 27,310, or 63%. So if you just look at community days went up, that is what, 6,500, just under 6,500 more community days. Life Care Days went down by 37, and total days, it's 4,000. So why is that? I showed you this. We normally don't show you this, but I want you to, this is only part of this, sets up the calculation on our additional expenses. So where there were fewer of you that used Majestic Oaks. Since there were fewer of you that used Majestic Oaks, we try to make sure Majestic Oaks is a business. If I lose money there, where am I taking the money from to make our financials look good? Taking it from you. You subsidize Majestic Oaks. So our goal is to make Majestic Oaks profitable. I'm okay if it just makes $1, but I want to make sure Majestic Oaks stays in the black, because it makes it easier on you if I do. There's a lot of work. I'm going to tell you, Michael and Nicole have worked incredibly hard along with the team down at Majestic Oaks to try to make this all happen. So because of that, we've took more people from the outside, from the greater community, to bring into Majestic Oaks. It's not uncommon for us to get calls. It's not uncommon for us to get calls from you that you have a friend, or board members that have friends, or other dignitaries within Orange City, DeLand, Deltona, that they have friends and they want to get them into Majestic Oaks. Why? They know what I've been beating you with for the last number of years. Majestic Oaks is really, really good. They are good at what they do, and they give great care. You may have not had a great experience the one time you were there. I understand that. But overall, they do a good job. So that explains that. Now, if I would have dropped that by the same number of days to 39,000, Majestic Oaks would have been in the red. Not just in the red, but deep in the red. I don't think that's what you want me to do. Would I be fair about that? Yeah. So, not only did fewer of you be able to stay at home and age in place, you got to use other services like home health and pharmacy and outpatient rehab, but that reflects here also. So your medical deduction, which will come out on Friday, is going to be 16.17. Fair enough? Told you it was going to be a long one. All right. Sales and marketing. 23 tours, 23 new tours, 26 repeats, 7 sales for the month of January. They just have a little bit more of a breakdown. They had 63 residents. Thank you for the residents that went through the apartment open house showcase. Average number of days in the sales cycle, 444. We had somebody last year, I think, was on our wait list for 17 years. 17 years. All right. HR update. I want to spend the time. The other stuff you can look at. Shannon will make sure that this gets posted. We do an employee satisfaction survey, and these are the results of the employee satisfaction survey: inclusivity and diversity. We scored a 4.2 out of 5. Collaboration and teamwork, 4.1. Manager responsiveness, 4 out of 5. Alignment of values, 4 out of 5. And leadership visibility, 3.9 out of 5. I don't know what the other directors are doing. I'm kidding. What we do is we look at this and we're slowly try to move this. Like we try to do resident satisfaction scores, and we try to focus on the two things we're going to be focused on, obviously, is landscaping and dining. Here, obviously, leadership visibility. We do a lot of things with employees. We do a town hall with employees on a quarterly basis. And we share many of the things that we share with you, with them, so they know. And they know what our business is about. It's about occupancy. It's about caring for people. But at the end of the day, if there's no margin, there's no mission. So then our turnover for 2024 was 22.49, retention rate 78.67, or 76, excuse me. I'm going to tell you what, I'll take 22.49 all day long. That's some good numbers. And then this just kind of summarizes the analysis. I threw this slide back in case you didn't see it. It compares us to the industry. It compares us to the Southeast, other CCRCs. We don't always get information on a specific CCRC in our area, but this is kind of where the industry and the CCRC averages. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. Nurse consultant, we have Carly Chester. This person, Carly, answers to Nicole. Carly's focus is Majestic Oaks and Oakview Suites specifically. Nicole has been doing that job, and we've been begging her to get a nurse consultant, so she finally hired one. She has got a BSN, and she's working on her master's in healthcare administration. The clinic in January, Martha I had 170 resident appointments and 72 employee appointments. Now, why is that important? One of the ways that we control our workers' comp costs is when we have an accident, guess where we send them to? We send them to Martha. And so, in many cases, she can take care of that, which controls our workers' comp. That means we're not sending somebody out to be evaluated. Because what we do here is we triage them. And if Martha can take care of it, she certainly does, and she monitors and follows up, and she follows up with employees just the same as she does with you. Sometimes we'll send you a text or call you and see how you're doing. And due to recent concerns of RSV, the clinic is obtaining some rapid tests. Majestic Oaks, on November 18th, CMS released updated guidance for significant revisions, 900 pages. Yes, it did take Nicole 3 days to get through it, but 900 pages. These regulations go into effect March of 2025. Now, we don't have a corporate office that does that for us. We are our corporate office, and we do these things ourselves. These are the areas that are focused the heaviest on: admissions and transfers, chemical restraints, psychotropic medication, resident assessment, quality of life and quality administration, quality assurance performance. What we refer to is, you hear us use this as an acronym, it's called QAPI, QAPI, Quality Assessment and Performance Improvement, Infection Control, and Infection Prevention and Control. Outpatient rehab, January 38, just kind of want to let you know, and this happened, I think, a couple months ago. Chris Rivera has now been promoted to the outpatient supervisor. He kind of handles the day-to-day, while the big gun, Kyle, focuses on home health and outpatient because he is the PT. Chris is a PTA, if I remember correctly. Home health. We continue to expand the insurance that we accept. Some insurances are better. If you want to know, call us. I don't want this to go out on YouTube and then I get a call from somebody's insurance company saying, you badmouthed us. We expanded medication assistance program to include assistance in filling electronic 28-day pill dispensers, and then services filling planners, reordering and managing prescriptions, and monthly nurse observation. If you have problems with medications, this is an easy fix. Because frequently what happens is you miss your medications or you take it haphazardly, you're not following a regimen, and then what happens is you start getting sick, or if it's a blood pressure medication, your blood pressure starts going haywire and you have issues. That will land you in Majestic Oaks quicker than you can whistle Dixie. What's the easy fix? Call Home Health. Some of you have gotten that clue, obviously, because fewer of you have used Majestic Oaks. Pharmacy, obviously Heart Month, pharmacists can provide personalized service on managing cholesterol, blood pressure, diabetes, slips and falls. Slips and falls. This is the biggest. I'm going to tell you, it has always been the biggest and it will always be the biggest. Why? Pride. You don't want to admit that you just fell. You don't want to admit that you felt dizzy or you felt lightheaded. You don't want to admit that you need help. You're going to push through this. This is just a temporary thing. We're going to tell you, 1 is an accident. 2 is a behavior. 1 is an accident. 2 is behavior. Please don't be stubborn. I just told you, I don't want you down at Majestic Oaks. It's $320 a day to care for you down at Majestic Oaks. What is my reimbursement from you? What, maybe $150? Maybe? Now, you got to admit, I normally am pretty decent at math. But when expenses outpace revenue, you can't stay in business there very long. So no, I don't want you there. And I'll do everything I can to get you home. But you help me help you. And when you have a fall, let us know. We're not going to push you there. I promise. And I don't promise anything. We're going to get you in the best place that we possibly can. And sometimes, yes, you'll need to go to Majestic Oaks. You will. But I'm going to tell you, we're going to do everything we can to keep you independent. Falls is the big one. Call us, tell us, let us know. Tell on yourself. Don't rely on your neighbor to tell on you. Tell on yourself. Be honest about it. Cold and flu season, you can stock up on cough syrup, congestants, manage your blood pressure, manage your blood pressure, manage your blood pressure. Monthly supports, you all know this, right? We have Parkinson's support, grief support, caregiver support, visual impairment support, chronic pain and fatigue support, memory impairment support, and diabetes support, along as we have education programs, peripheral neuropathy presentation. It's a chiropractor from Coastal Integrative Healthcare, Diabetes Roundtable, and the Late in Life Issues, collaborating with Wellness Liaison, and check the Village weekly for programs, because I know they're looking at doing programs, I think, every other month, whenever they can. So that was something that was started by residents, and we are very, very supportive, but we want to make sure that, as you are, that it hits on the issues that are important to you. Time Out Tuesday. If you're a caregiver, good time to get a break. It's $20, 2 hours, we'll keep you busy. Campus themed meals for Mardi Gras. I can't wait for Mardi Gras. Evening celebration dinner is at March 12th, Lucky of the Paw. St. Patrick's celebration on the 17th, Spring Fling, Time to Bloom, and games and appetizers on the 29th. So, you guys got all that? Yeah, I'd take a picture because it's going in my calendar. National Potato Chip Day is Friday the 14th. I like barbecue. Florida Healthcare presentation is on March 3rd. These are all the free entertainments and presentations. Please, as you can see, the list continues to grow. Why does the list continue to grow? Because you support and you attend those. If you're supporting them and attending them, it makes it worthwhile to put them on. And that we absolutely love. Dining menu change at JJ's on March 6th. We're going to give you a choice of 2 entrees, chicken or fish. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I saw you all start to reach into your belt. No, we're going to be trying different things in some of the different venues. We want your feedback. And at JJ's, the group that attends JJ's orders a small grouping of what's on the menu. They don't exercise the full menu. Now, I already announced this, so if you go all week, start ordering all kinds of different stuff, we're still going to go with what we're doing here. But you like certain things. The less we have to focus on, the better quality you should get. The less food prep that we have to do to prepare, like duck. You may like duck. I love duck. But it's not everybody likes duck. And so that's why it doesn't hit the menu. But we're going to try a few things in our dining venues to see how well it goes over. Then we're going to want your feedback. One of the things that we talked about is we're going to be implementing, I think it's March 1st, I think is what our deadline is. It's called Survey Stands. So when you leave the dining room, we're going to do it in SH Cranes. It's a pilot program, and you see it at Walmart. You see it at Walmart when you do self-checkout. It's how many stars would you give the meal or service or whatever the case may be, and we're going to ask you when you leave. It's just going to be an iPad on a stand, and you're just going to hit it. Make sure it registers, and we're going to go. We want to know what you thought of the meal on that particular day or your meal that particular day. We may ask and focus it on service. We may focus on the quality of your food. We may focus it on a variety of things. But that's going to give us more immediate feedback so we can adjust things quicker. We're also making some internal changes that I'm not at liberty to share, but it will help us get better information from you also. Fair enough? So you should see that, just going to be a little iPad on a stand. It'll be asking you, and you hit 1 to 5 stars. And remember, we want 5 stars. And then we continue to work on our security. And that is, we talked about the lanyards. We talked about a variety of things. That is the direction we're going to go. And I think it's going to be closer to April 1 before we have everything. We're waiting on a vendor for a couple of things, but we believe that that should be instituted by April 1, maybe even a little bit before if everything gets done. So that is going to be a new visitor badge. If you're a visitor, you're going to be required to wear a badge. You're going to have a lanyard. We're going to identify you. You can tell who the visitor is by the color of the lanyard. So if you're wondering what's going on. All right, Majestic Oaks. If you remember, Majestic Oaks had 1 nursing tag on their latest survey. 1 nursing tag. That was 4 points. So I won't get into what that means. So for survey, Majestic Oaks stays a 5-star for survey. Agency for Healthcare Administration has already cleared them with a desk review, so they didn't have to come back and do a revisit. The renovation of the 800 Hall is completed. They began to work on 9. 9, I think, is probably still a few weeks away. Majestic Oaks will host a monthly family council, and the meeting is on the 17th, or was on the 17th, I guess, because of the 19th. Majestic Oaks remains strong census. Why does it remain strong census? Because we want Majestic Oaks to support itself. We still have plenty of beds. As you can tell, we have plenty of beds if you want to go there. And then if you'd like to schedule a tour, I would recommend go and tour Majestic Oaks. You can see what we've done on the 3 hallways. It looks fantastic. And And those who have been there, I know, have been very, very pleased. The board has been very pleased with the work that's done there. So please go take a tour of Majestic Oaks and see the new areas. Oakview Suites, they went on a hiring spree. They hired 6 new staff members, including a full-time night LPN, has joined the team. The activity coordinator has initiated an activity assessment for both current residents and new admissions. They have only 2 studio apartments available, but you're going to say, Joe, wait, how can they have 48 out of 49 and there be 2 apartments available? Well, there's 2 people that share. It's a couple. And then there's a waiting list for 1-bedroom apartments. So if you're thinking about moving to assisted living, anytime this year you are thinking about it, get on the wait list. Get on the wait list. And then contact Amanda Delgado at extension 1500 should you want that. Facilities, we are at an hour. I'm going to go quickly. I'm just going to hit on some of this. The team collaborated with the garden committee to enhance the functionality of large section of the resident gardens. If you've seen, they now have raised gardens out there. They have the big troughs. Well, that's what I'm going to call them. And they're trying a pilot program. I worked with Mr. Hardy. I don't see him here, but Mr. Hardy wanted to do 1 plot. I gave him 3 or 4, and he was thrilled with that. So they're going to try doing raised gardens because it's too difficult for people to try to get down, kneel, garden, and get all that done, and then try to get back up. So we're going to do raised gardens. We also have planned for raised gardens for Oakview Suites and Majestic Oaks if this works out well. We would look for resident volunteers, but that's the good and bad of it. We did the irrigation, and then we hosted the facilities committee for the maintenance building. I think the feedback I received from that, it was very educational for them. Sometimes until you get to see kind of what we refer to as the back lot, you never realize how big we really are and how much those guys do. They just kind of disappear into the abyss and then come back and have supplies. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes. And we are literally a small town, a village, if you will. Maintenance department has begun cleaning up the pavilion. You've seen them work on that. We're going to get to water mitigation here in just a little bit. Facilities department will review all preventative maintenance procedures. What we're trying to do is try to get ahead of you requesting to have your refrigerator filter replaced, along with your AC and a number of other things. We're going to try to automate that so that cycles through automatically so you don't have to ask for it. Now, in the perfect world, that's exactly how it works. Until then, pick up the phone and call us. And then we're in the process, if we haven't already, repairing the awnings at Citrus Bay and Majestic Oaks. They were painting them last time I saw, and then they're going to be putting the new awnings in place. Grounds, this is all part of the plan of correction and what we've been doing with grounds. They're doing what they refer to as a top-down detailing. It's currently 80% completed for the quarter. What we do is break it down into the quarters. He has until the end of March to complete it, so he's 80%, let's call it the end of February, if you will. He should be 67%, but he's kind of 80% complete. Same thing with the mulch project. They're letting some of the leaves fall off the trees so they don't put mulch on top of leaves. Now watch, they'll do that on me, won't they? We're working with our new turf company, Heron. He's completed a year-end service, and that covers the entire village, and then they'll start their early season fertilizer and green up program. Not all our grass is the same. It's a version of St. Augustine, but it's not all the same. For example, Valencia Landing has Pro Vista grass. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just go and research it. It's a hybrid grass. It was developed by Scots. Everything I've seen, I'm impressed with it, but that's only my opinion. Grounds, you get to see the raised gardens, if you will, the troughs. What they'll do is anybody here garden? Yeah? Come on, don't be bashful. Yeah, you throw what they'll do is they'll throw debris in there to get it to compost and for it to break down, and then they'll put dirt and then they'll plant things, so it'll be a little bit higher. But this is what the plots look like. They've been able to clean it up and put those in place. So hopefully that will go over very, very well. Project Gatehouse 2. I've been dying to say this. The project for Gatehouse 2 is signed, all right? That's my little version of a happy dance. All right? Oak Park, we just kind of went through some of that. We're waiting for our final drawings on Oak Park and the clinic, and so but you kind of got an idea of what's going to happen and what's going to go on. Where administration is currently, that's where the clinic is going to go. It fits well there. And then the rest of us will move over to Oak Park, and it'll be a process. Yes, I will miss you too. So I will make my way over to the dining room in the Commons building a couple times a week just to harass you. Apartment hallways in the corridors, considering we're stressing our resources, not what we can afford to do, the people that can do the work. That's what we're stressing, okay? So we're gonna pause hallways. We think we've got that 95% done, planned, ready to rock and roll, but we're gonna probably wait. I'm gonna guess we're gonna wait until Oak Park is done before we start on hallways. If we can sneak that in there, yes, we will do that. The other thing is Crane's Dining Room. I know there is a committee that was working on the Crane's Dining Room, and we do appreciate your work. Your work is not going to waste. I have on my refurbishment calendar to redo the kitchen in Crane's Dining Room 2 years from now. Let me ask you, does it make sense to go ahead and do the dining room and then go ahead 2 years later and do the kitchen? Doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. And it's just the way when I was putting them together, they were a disconnect for me, and so I tried to come back and connect them. So I'm not going to say it's going to wait 2 years to do the Crane Dining Room. I'm going to try to pull the kitchen up in the renovation process. So there's a whole lot of consultants we need to do. We need to look at equipment. We need to look at form following function. How's that? Because we've gotten away from that in some areas, and it doesn't. And where we don't have form following function, it doesn't work well. Water mitigation. Here's a long story, very short, or medium short. We worked with, I think it's called, Press Ray, and then we've worked with Muscle Wall. And I'm just going to be transparent. We can protect all the doorways for the Commons building, all the apartments. That is affordable, so we don't have water that comes in the building. That's an affordable bid, and we're looking to see how we do that. Muscle Wall, not so affordable. Right now, that bid is about $2.1 million for a temporary fix. I was hoping to only spend 1.5 on a permanent. So we're kind of going to go back to the drawing board. We're looking at where are areas where we might be able to cut down and maybe focus our attention a little bit more. What does that do to the units that were flooded down at Floribunda? The units that were flooded down in Floribunda were probably, don't say I said absolutely, but we're strongly leaning towards taking those down, okay? Whether we expand that pond or we make that a green space or we heighten the level of the stuff there, but that's a hard sell, and until the city fixes what they need to fix, we're at risk of that happening again. So you may see us starting to work on other fronts as we get other vendors to be able to remove those things just so we don't have to deal with them. But that is, like I said, a long story, very, very short. We continue to work with providers. We're trying to get bids from 3 engineers to look at our property for maintaining water and drainage of water, and where can we send water should we have an area that floods. I'm going to tell you, Fountain Lake, there's nothing. If that happens again, I want to make sure that we're prepared for it. And I think that's probably, if we take the units down at Floribunda, that is probably our biggest exposure is Fountain Lake, especially if we have another, 500-year storm or 1,000-year storm, whatever they're going to, hey, I think it's scheduled for the year after next, the 10,000-year storm. It's difficult to try to measure that and try to do it. And all we can do is try to be prepared. 2 years from now, I hope we have a permanent, I'm praying and working hard to have a permanent solution in place, but that there's a lot of things that have to happen as we go through this. Recycling, none of this has changed. We're not doing glass. We're not recycling glass. You probably also have seen the containers outside the buildings for aluminum cans, or aluminium, as they like to say. That's only for those cans, so we can recycle those. And don't run down to maintenance and throw your trash in that dumpster, because that is a recycling dumpster. But we're not taking glass. Because what they do is they measure, they weigh the container, and of course, glass weighs far more than plastic, and they're not going to recycle it anyway. So we'll get charged for it, and it won't be doing us any good. Ad valorem. Yeah, just when you thought you were done. Everybody understand ad valorem? Yes? Say yes, and I'll skip it. I'll go through it very, very quickly. I stuck this on there because I meant January ran long and I wanted to be able to do this. Ad valorem is the Florida Statute 196, 1975. It's for an exempt property for nonprofit homes for the aged. I'm just going to run around here a little bit. So Majestic Oaks and Oakview Suites, since they serve residents that are over 62 years of age, they are considered exempt. And you must be a 501c3 provisions. This is for, you must have been a resident on January 1st for the year that you're claiming. So it would have been January 1st of 2024 in this round. The income exemptions are $41,662 for single, $46,773 for couples, and income eligible persons occupy 25% of the units. What does that mean? For us to get an exemption on our common areas, like this building, the commons hallways, everything else, to get that exemption, 25% of our residents must fall into that range. They must make less than $41,662, or couples $46,773. You good? You're sitting there going, we're never going to qualify. You're right, we're never going to qualify. However, we do it because we're required to do it. We know it's sometimes we feel like it's an exercise in futility, but we're required to do it. Volusia County requires us to be able to do that. Now, you go into the income, just all income from any source derived, whether owned or received or not received, but available, earned income, income from investments, gains from derivatives, dealings with properties, interest, rents, totally and permanent disability. You must have currently certified 2 physicians from the state of Florida who are professionally unrelated, so you can't have 2 doctors that are husband and wife, because that would be considered related, even though they're biologically not related, they're related, and verified that you're totally and permanently disabled. Good? All right, you complete the forms. Were you 62 years of age? Were you a veteran? Did you live in your unit on January 1 for the tax year and consider your permanent home for some of you that are new? No, you did not. Were you 62 years old on January 1 of this year? And did you claim a homestead exemption? If you claimed a homestead exemption on your permanent resident or your previous resident, you cannot claim an exemption here. And I think a homestead exemption is currently $50,000, and an exemption from ad valorem is $25,000. Kind of makes no difference. There is what the form looks like. You all have seen it. All but 17 of you have signed it. And it's part of your residency contract, and if you look under 7.2.1, all assets. Now that goes back to why do we have you fill this out? Part of it is we occasionally have somebody who tries to beat the system, come in, fill out their CDA, confidential data information, and then what they do is they start giving away their money, and then they want benevolent assistance. So what we do is we watch your assets and we watch your income as you do it every particular year, because if all of you started doing that, what would happen? Yep, we'd go broke. And we wouldn't have a foundation. And so it's just keeping everybody honest. That's why we do that portion of your assets and your income. Because if we see, a $200,000 drop in your assets, we know we didn't do it, right? So we may ask you about it. Was there an issue with investments? Was there an issue with giving money away? And there are some of you that are so incredibly honest that have come to me and said, Joe, I got to report this, and I want to make sure you're okay with it before I do it. And they wanted to transfer a house to one of their children, but they had plenty of assets. They would have still qualified without the house. But they asked, and it got blessed. So nobody can come back behind me and say, hey, wait a second. No, we went through that, and we covered that thoroughly. Fair enough? Now, this is what we've been paying year over year in property tax. Yes, we broke the $1 million barrier this year. $1,027,014. I'm going to round it up. It was $1,392. So $1,492. So that's what we pay. What is that? On each independent living unit, that is a real estate burden of $1,904. So it doesn't make any difference what size. I just over each independent living unit. Now, normally that's based upon the size of the unit and a lot of other little things. We don't do it. It's $1,900. We happen to be one of the communities that don't come back and charge you. We build this into your monthly service fee. Many communities, I know many communities, don't do this. And sometimes, in this particular case, it was actually $150,000 more than what we had actually budgeted for. So we took a budget hit on real estate taxes. We're going to guess we may take a hit on real estate taxes again, but we don't think it'll be $150,000. But still, that is one of the benefits that we build that into your monthly service fee, where while other communities may not charge you the full boat, they'll charge you a tax based upon the size of the unit that you live in. And they break it down based upon all their square footage. Now, if you can imagine if we get 25% of our residents that would qualify exempt, a lot of that would go away. Because then we wouldn't have to pay taxes on the Barker Center or the Commons or the Jack Roos Clubhouse. That'd be kind of cool. Or Oak Park. Wouldn't it be cool? Yeah. It's not going to happen. All right. I told you it would be a miracle. It's still a miracle. Just not as big as one. A couple questions that I might be able to answer.
Hold on, she's got one.
When administration moves to Oak Park this week, where are you going to be? Are the other ones still going to be there? The medical clinic and all will still be there, right?
Yep. The clinic will still be there. I am taking a corner office, and Vicki gets exam room 3, so to be specific. But they're going to transition and move it to another. So we will be up in the clinic area, and that'll be, I'm going to guess, for at least the next 2-3 months. It could be 4 months that we're there. because we'll have to move out of that area so they can renovate that. So there's going to be some movement going around. But we're going to try to work on administration and the community room first. So we're going to try to, that's 2 different sites. That's why we're not stressing on the money for it. We're stressing on resources to be able to handle projects in a number of different locations all at the same time. Because I'm just going to tell you, the contractor that we have just does great work and does a phenomenal job for us, and we like for him to do it because it makes it affordable for us, and that makes us good stewards of the money that you give us. Question in the back, yes.
I'm not understanding something. If Tina is going into the office area directly across from the grill where Jackie presently resides, Jackie's office, and then behind her, the director of Oakview, what's happening to them? I mean, they're the ones that are the...
No, I'm kidding. No, Jackie has, there's a lot of moving pieces are confidential. I can't share some of them. The director is still going to be there. She's going to use the office. She'll use the office, use the exit. She's got 2 doors to her office. She'll probably use the one to the hallway, and we'll close off that door. Tina is going to be there. She'll probably have the mailboxes for administration and be able to, because the mail will go there, and she will disperse it from there, and then transportation will deliver it to the various spots. Jackie is taking a job, and we've enhanced her job as administrative assistant to help focus more on residents and more of a concierge being on the floor to help residents in assisted living. Since occupancy in assisted living is running very, very well, that gives us another set of eyes in assisted living to help residents. Yes.
Well, then how are we going to register when we're going into assisted living if that facility isn't there anymore?
No, what we're going to do is we're going to put that right outside that doorway. Where the chair and the table is, right there or on the other side of that opening, we're going to put the AccuShield there. So you'll still register right there.
So, will Tina be able to ask questions? I mean, I've been there many times, and I've seen people come up and say, how do I get in? How do I this? Or people come to visit, and they don't know where they're going.
Mm-hmm. Yes, Tina will help with that.
Okay.
Other questions? All right. Thank you for indulging me. Almost another 18 minutes. Have a beautiful day and a beautiful weekend, and we'll talk to you next month.